In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the right front axle on this BMW 328i xDrive. Let's get into it. We're going to remove the wheel, use a 17mm socket, take the lug bolts out. Get to the last one, just hold the wheel on so it doesn't fall, and slide off the wheel. We're going to remove the axle nut. It's peened over a little bit. Just take a punch or a chisel. Just try to get underneath it. Just, if you can, just push it out a little bit. It'll just make taking the nut off easier. Sometimes it's not that easy. The 36mm socket, take the nut off. It has to be a 12-point socket. Take that off. You just take a punch or a piece of metal. Just give it a tap, see if you can get it to loosen up from the wheel bearing. Just get it loose. You don't have to send it all the way in there. Using a 16mm socket, take this plate off. Take the bolts out. That down. We're going to remove this nut above the ball joint. Use a 15/16 wrench or a 24mm wrench. That nut off. I'm just going to take a hammer and give it a tap, the knuckle right there. You could use some front end tools to remove the ball joint from the knuckle, if you have one that fits in there. If you use a pickle fork, be careful though, you could rip the boot. Go. It's separated. Just going to put the nut on temporarily on the ball joint, just so that we can take this nut off. Using a 24mm socket, take this nut off. Just put that on. Just a couple threads. And again, if you have front end tools that work, you can try to separate the arm from the ball joint, or you can hit it with a hammer and just separate it. Now I'll take this nut off, slide that out of the way, then I can get to that one. I'm going to use a front end puller, just basically a 2-jaw puller that fits on here. Good right there, and just tighten it up. There we go. Pop that off. Slides out. And with a large punch on the back side of the axle, where it goes into the front differential, just gonna give it a tap, pop it out. I'm just gonna push the axle the rest of the way through. I'm just using an air hammer. You can just use a punch. Push that in. And pull the axle out of the knuckle. And you can slide the axle out of the differential. There may be some fluid coming out, so just be aware. Just push that out of the way. And it slides right out. Just using a wire brush, just clean out some of the threads where the axle's going to go into the hub. Now slide the axle in place. Just going to move the knuckle out of our way. Push that in. Turn the axle a little bit and just the rubber mallet, give it a couple taps. Oh, that's all the way in. That's good. Slide it into the knuckle. Get that lined up. And just slide the axle into the knuckle. Push it on, you should be able to get some threads. Pull the axle the rest of the way through. You can see some threads, so put the new axle nut on. Get that started, we'll torque that later. Slide the ball joint in place, get the nut started. And same with the other ball joint. Using a pull jack, just get underneath the ball joint, just press it up, just so the stud stops spinning. We'll tighten that nut down. And tighten that down. It's a little tricky to get a torque wrench in there. If you can, you want to torque that nut to 129 foot-pounds. Do the best you can. All right, there we go. It's tight. I can lower the pull jack. We want to put that nut up. Now this nut we can snug up with the gun. If it's spinning, use the pull jack again. Just support the arm. Just a little bit of pressure. Snug that up. Now we'll torque this nut to 129 foot-pounds. Put the shield up, get the bolts started. Tighten those down. Tighten the axle nut. We're going to torque it. Just use a couple of the lug studs. I'll take a pry bar just to prevent this from spinning. Just like that, against the ground. Torque this nut to 310 foot-pounds. There you go. Take a punch or a chisel, and just right where the axle, there's a little notch out. You want to just peen it over, just to prevent the axle nut from loosening up. Looks good. Now we're going to install the wheel. Line that up. And get the bolt started. Get all the lug bolts started. Snug those down. Now we're going to torque the lug bolts to 90 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Go around again, double check.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.